Today I'm going to be talking about Return to the Dark Tower. This is one of the more absurd games that I've purchased. It was a Kickstarter from a couple years ago and I've just been waiting for literally years for it to arrive. Well, it has arrived and I've played it I think 4 times now, and I'm going to start up a 5th session in a second. And I just want to say right off the bat that it is a fun game. You feel engaged, like you feel like something's happening, and though the game often takes over an hour to play, I don't feel like I'm sitting through and struggling for an hour. I start up and then it has a natural progression, and by the time the game is getting to the end, I am, not that I'm bored or anything like that, but I'm basically there with it and I'm excited for that moment to come. Thus far the 4 sessions have not dragged, and I have played the game 4 times in I think 3 days, so it's we'll see if that can stay sustainable. I suspect not, and I'm planning on putting it away pretty soon after perhaps this game or one more. What's pretty great about it is that you can pick different styles of game each time you play. There's different themes, there's different monsters, and it does vary what happens during the game enough that it stays consistently fresh, even if ultimately you're just juggling a few resources, dealing with a little bit of push your luck, and generally trying to move across this map. Now I'm going to say a couple things about the components. I, for better or worse, bought the miniatures instead of just dealing with the cardboard. I don't actually know which one I enjoy better. I've played a couple games with the cardboard and a couple games with the miniatures. I do need to paint them, so I kind of wish I didn't have them, so I didn't have that hanging over me, because I already have a queue of other things I'm painting, but so be it. And the cardboard is sort of quick and easy to see. The cardboard tells you each of the monsters that you're fighting, or they're not monsters, but each of your foes is the term of art, has different characteristics. Like this one here, the Lemur, has magic and undead. The way the game works is that there's different advantage mechanics, and if your type of advantage relates to the foe that you're battling or the dungeon that you're crawling through, then you can transform bad encounters to less bad encounters or even positive encounters. So you're tracking how much of an advantage you have for these different keywords. There's also a wild keyword, so there's that as well. So part of the game is just managing what set of advantages you have and making the most of it. And so the thing is that because the different foes you have, they have different advantages that you're trying to track. If you use the cardboard pieces, you can have it so the cardboard's pointing up and tells you right off, easily seeable, what kind of advantages you want to have if you battle the creature. If you have the miniature, it's not inscribed on the miniature. I guess I could use the miniature and the cardboard, but that's a little weird. So what they ended up doing was giving you this set of cards, and on this card it tells you what the keywords are. So with the cards you can know which of the foes need what advantages and track that easily, and I just have these cards out so I can see them. I imagine as I play the game a little bit more I'll just memorize all this anyway, so it will be a non-starter. But it is nice that with the cardboard it's right there on the board. You can see what the advantage is without having to consult a reference card. So there is that. I'll also say that I picked up these sleeves. I'm not often a sleever, but I will say that the sleeves are gorgeous, and they actually make shuffling, as I'm learning, really easy. You just mesh the cards together, and I know that people who enjoy sleeving their games speak to this and say it's one of the advantages, and I will say it is really nice to not have to shuffle things. You just do this a few times and your deck is ready to go. So that is wonderful. The downside of sleeving cards is mishaps like that happen, at least with me, a lot more than they would otherwise. Which is good. It's good to get up and walk around once in a while. You gotta keep fluid, keep moving. So the other thing that I picked up that is also optional is this neoprene mat. The game does not come with the neoprene mat, but I wanted to see how it would be. It was advertised as being a little bit larger. You can see it's a little too big. Well, I don't know if you can see that right now, but it's a little too big for my table, which is fine. I haven't had a problem with the edges hanging off. But I will say that because you can have, especially the miniatures, multiple foes and yourself and other things that you're tracking on one board space, having a little more space is nice in that regard, and so I think it helps keep things from being cluttered. So I do recommend the neoprene mat just because it's a slightly bigger board space. So of course if you have a smaller table then you're going to be much happier with the actual cardboard board. This tower is pretty ridiculous. I will say it's kind of fun listening to it whirl around. It has these rotation mechanisms where, based on the different sides, you can actually lift these little panels and take them off, and the game will instruct you to remove ones. As the tower spins around, and you have these different coverings removed, there may be a sigil or there may be a little ramp that a skull can come out of. You see, throughout the course of the game, you're going to be putting these skulls into the hole on the top, and then they'll either be stored and contained in the tower until they'll pop out later because of the rotation or some other factor, or they'll just pop out immediately. They pop out, they roll, and then you pick which of the different structures in that section that you'd like to put the skull on. If you ever go to add a fourth skull, you destroy the building. Destroying buildings is bad because you can no longer use it for benefits that it gives you. And it also gives you one of these corruption cards. And at any point, if you go to grab a third corruption card, then it's game over. So, skulls are pretty cool. I will say that they bounce a little bit, and I've had a couple that have come off the table, but I have easily gotten them, so that's not an issue. So the skull shot out, hit me in the crotch, and then went straight to the carpet. So there you go. But it is kind of fun just watching them roll out. I don't know, maybe in this regard I'm like, I don't know, an 8-year-old or something, but it seems pretty gimmicky and pretty silly, but I will say there's some satisfaction of watching the skull tumble out. And I think this would be a fun game to play with multiple people because, as you can see, probably like the tower actually obstructs the view, and I think that's somewhat by design because the game is often a cooperative game, so you need to kind of communicate and look around. But sometimes a skull may come out and it'll be right here, and I don't realize that had happened. Then most of the time I can hear it or I can glance around and see it. And one of the benefits of recording is I can actually see the side of the board now because of the camera, and so that makes my life a little easier. The other thing that can be a little frustrating with the tower is that as you open these up, I mentioned it might have a sigil that you need to look at. They affect you in certain ways, and so you need to be cognizant that they're there, but I can't really see if something's lit up on this side. But every now and then I'll just take the thing and look like that, and then problem solved. It's just a little goofy. And I wish that the app that you need to use for the game would also help and remind you of what sigils are showing. Because the other issue is that, and this is again something you'll memorize quickly, but as far as I know, there's not a handy reference. At least I don't recall having seen that. So if I forget what a sigil actually means and how it affects me, I have to consult the rule book, and it's not like it's on the back of the rule book. So there's a little kind of tiny fiddly aspects of the game that aren't a big deal, but as you're learning the game, or as other people are learning the game, they will be minor complications that you have to deal with. So yeah, the game's a lot of fun. I have the app over here. You've probably been listening to it serenade us for the last 5 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and hit start game, and it wants me to turn the tower on, and it's going to make that lovely noise, and it's now connecting to the tower. Oh, there it is. It is alive. Okay, it's the calibrate. Okay, no. Okay, that means we're in business. The dark evil of the land is apparently summoned by that noise. That is... Can you imagine actually living in this world and having this gigantic tower that's just making these noises and it's just like so fearsome and gigantic? It's a large penis, so kind of malformed penis, but it's there, so nice phallus. Okay, it says tower ready. It doesn't say phallus ready. I'm gonna hit continue. I'm gonna play cooperative. I have no friends, so I'm gonna hit 1, and then I'm gonna hit random ones to see. This isn't a gameplay video, so I'm just going to fast through this part, and I'm just going to mention now that I'm going to talk about something that's fiddly in the game, and then head to closure. So thank you for hanging out so far, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Thanks. So on your turn, you do your banner. So her banner is I get one of these spirits, and then on your turn you can move, do an heroic action, not just an action, these are heroic actions. And then if you, during your turn, are passing through one of the structures, you can also do a reinforce action. And what's lovely about the game, but also can be a little like confusing to track, and there's no trackers built in, so you might want to grab dice or some other method to track what you've done in your turn, or just have a really good memory and not get distracted, because you can move, do your action, continue moving. You can also do the reinforce in there. After you do your action, you get 2 spirit as a bonus. And so there's a lot of moments in time where you could forget to do something, or whether or not you did something, or not remember if you used 2 movement points or 3 movement points. So I find myself kind of reciting like a mantra, what I've done or what I have left, one or the other. And it's good to not mix it up, because then you might mix yourself up, so that you don't make any mistakes. And then some of these cards you can get in the game, because there's these treasures you get access to, there's gear, there's potions, and there's also these corruptions, and you have allies that have abilities. They all can tweak the game mechanics. Some might care where you end your turn, they may give you a bonus benefit. Some may say if you're dealing with these skulls, which is called cleansing, you may be able to cleanse an extra one or cleanse another one elsewhere. And so you have to memorize all these little rule permutations based on your cards, and what your cards you have can come and go as well. So then that can change things. So I do find that sometimes I'm just staring, I just don't remember what exactly is going on, and I have to go with it. And the other thing that's worth mentioning is that the app can frustrate the hell out of you at times, because it's very unforgiving. There's no log, there's no go back. So sometimes I am having a battle, and it's like, it tells me I need to kill 8 warriors, and for some reason I just blank and I hit next, and I was like, oh wait, did I already pay those 8? Was it 8? I might even forget that. I'm like, was it 8 or 10? I don't remember. And then I just have to guess and go with it. So I do think there's moments in time where I'm probably putting asterisks on my game, just because I don't really remember exactly whether or not I did it correctly. So I think a little bit of a log would help in the app a lot, at a minimum, and maybe a go back. Because I remember one game I thought I had 4 advantages, and you spend the advantages throughout the given turn, and they make things better for you if you use them. And one time I thought I had 4, and then I realized I only had 3, and I wanted to undo the lost advantage, but I couldn't, and so I wanted to then do whatever the last screen had showed me, but I don't remember what it said, because I wasn't really paying attention, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's terrible, and I hit advantage again. And then, anyway, the point of all this is, I'm looking forward to as the app gets a little bit better. Overall, I'm not against the app in this game. I do worry about longevity in terms of this tower not just getting destroyed. I worry about the app not being supported at some point, but I think for the immediate term, everything's going to be fine. I'm not too worried about it in the big picture, but I do look forward to more progress in the app to continue to make it better, to have more information in there, and just to have it maybe be a little less forgiving. And by less forgiving, I mean unforgiving. I recognize there's a gigantic dark tower of evil, and it probably is a reason why when I wanted to do undo, it literally has a middle finger come up. I don't know how they know that I need something undone, but the middle finger comes up, and I'm like, oh, that's right, there's a gigantic phallus in the middle of my board, and I'm getting screwed here, so that's completely fine. I accept my fate.